and helping. They're switching out and working as fast, as diligently as possible. This is very frustrating because we want it all done. We want to rescue as many people as possible. We want to get to the bottom of this situation, but we can't because the process is very slow. And we need to understand that it has to be done properly to respect all those that could be rescued. So that's where we're at. As far as the mayor, and first of all, I want to thank the president that's sending his resources, our governor, thank you for all the resources, everything, and being here. As everybody that is working together, mayor, and working with other mayors in other cities and other departments, thank you for all the work and the leadership and the people of Miami-Dade County and all over the world. Thank you for everything you're sending. That's not only your love and your prayers, but all the things that you're sending to help out the families and those that are working here. Thank you so much for all that. As far as my colleagues and I, we will do everything that needs to be done with legislation so this will never happen again in our community. That is a promise. Quiero darle las gracias a todas las personas que no han parado de orar y no han parado de mandar las cosas que están mandando para ayudar a aquellos que están sufriendo mucho en este momento. Y están sufriendo mucho las familias. Están sufriendo porque quieren saber de las personas en su familia y sus amistades. Pero este es un proceso que no es fácil, es un proceso difícil. Los bomberos están trabajando 24 horas al día sin parar. Y no solamente es el equipo, los otros, hay muchos más equipos que están aquí y se están cambiando para trabajar hasta más arduamente, constantemente. Es una cosa muy difícil, muy seria, y quisiéramos que ya estuviera todo terminado y que pudiéramos dar resultados hoy con ustedes aquí, pero sí igual. Pero estamos haciendo las cosas como es debido de hacer, para respetar todo y pedirle a Dios que podemos rescatar personas. Y yo sé que se puede hacer, y eso es lo que estamos tratando de hacer. Mis colegas, quiero darle primero las gracias del presidente que ha mandado sus personas y las personas acá para ayudar a nuestra comunidad, nuestro gobernador que ha estado presente todo el tiempo y de nuevo hoy, y con todas las cosas que ha mandado y todo el personaje también. La alcaldesa y todos los alcaldes también de todas las ciudades y todos los gobiernos que están ayudando también. Esto es una cosa de la comunidad que tengo que darle las gracias porque no paran de mandar y ayudarlos. Aparte de eso, mis colegas y yo estamos listos para cualquier circunstancia de leyes que tenemos que poner, a la vez que podemos saber exactamente qué sucedió para prevenir esto, que no vuelva a suceder de nuevo en nuestra comunidad. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Joe. And Miami-Dade Fire Chief Alan Kaminsky.
Good morning. Again, our thoughts and prayers with the family and our first responders. As the fire chief, I couldn't be prouder of our efforts right now, that the brave men and women working around the clock performing our search and rescue efforts. We continued search and rescue efforts majority through the evening. As we continue removing debris, the smoke has been picking up. As I stated earlier, we're also dealing with a deep-seated fire, smoldering fire, but obviously producing a lot amount of smoke. One of the most difficult situations, one, the type of collapse itself and what we've been dealing with and going throughout the debris and trying to attempt to find voids and looking for opportunities for survivor. We continue those efforts. We had to stop briefly as we dug the trench, as the mayor mentioned, bringing in heavier equipment, looking with infrared, different components, and seeing how we can mitigate that situation as we continue our search and rescue efforts. So we reevaluate and we will rotate our efforts and we work together in the sense of simultaneously as we're addressing the fire and the smoke concerns, the search and rescue efforts as well. But it's a very difficult situation and we continue to modify and adjust what we need to hopefully save some lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And Miami-Dade Fire Rescue in Spanish, Erica Benitez.
Buenos días. Los esfuerzos de búsqueda y rescate continúan. En este momento estamos lidiando con el problema que nos está dando el incendio, pero aún así no hemos parado nuestros esfuerzos y seguimos trabajando en conseguir víctimas y personas que se encuentren bajo los escombros. En este momento tenemos todavía maquinaria pesada, la cual continúa trabajando sobre los escombros, haciendo lugar para poder tratar de lidiar con este incendio que está afectando la operación, pero que no ha parado la búsqueda y rescate.
And now we're going to open it up for questions.
In light of the civil mayor, I know you said that the numbers haven't changed, but is there any indication that there are people living, perhaps through the canines or any other technology that you can't attend to right now, but there are a possibility that there are people alive?
We are continuing our search and rescue because our first responders believe there's still a possibility. There are crevices, so there's air. They're able to, pick through. But right now, obviously, we're trying to stabilize the situation because of the fire and the smoke.
Madam Mayor, in light of the civil engineering report that was issued overnight, do you still agree, or do you agree with the assessment of the attorneys for the Condo Association that there were no red flags or signs of imminent collapse with that building?
We are obviously very interested in all of the evidence that's coming to light, and we're going to be including it in our what happens after the rescue. And in the meantime, we're taking actions to make sure that other buildings are safe. No, we knew nothing about this report. No, we did not know about this report.
Question for the mayor.
Go ahead.
To the mayor, Judy Block, ABC News. How many buildings will the audit include, and do you know how many buildings that developer has in Miami-Dade County and in the state?
So for the county audit, we'll get you a number later. We'll get that number. As for the city of Surfside, I know there is one other building by this developer up the street. I do not know how many others.
Question for the fire chief. Could you please clarify? I know the fires have been a challenge. Can you speak to whether police have encountered anybody dead or alive that perhaps they have not seen anyone, that perhaps they have not been able to access to the fire?
No, at this time we haven't located any victims. As we continue our search, again, it's a very delicate matter because we're still searching. Search and rescue operations is what we're focusing on. So as we're moving debris, as the smoke is increasing, we still haven't come across anything along the sign of life.
Chief, have there been any or impact to the search at all? The information about the structural damage to those rebars, does that impact the search and rescue at all?
Yes, ma'am. Everything impacts our search and rescue efforts. I mean, just the magnitude of this collapse and the type of collapse it is one of the most difficult. We've been searching through any void, any crevice that we see is what we've been accessing, and that's why we were searching from below. We're continuing those efforts. We have to shift based on our circumstances and where we're looking. And again, the biggest thing here is hope. That's what's driving us right now. That's what's driving my decision right now, briefing with the mayor for us to continue in our search and rescue efforts. It's an extremely difficult situation.
Chief, is there a concern about the air? Chief, with the continuing fire, is there a concern about the air quality? And if so, what's being done to protect the search and rescue team?
Well, we normally have just air respirators. Yes, there's definitely a concern, which we'd have to actually go on self-contained breathing apparatus. Last night, we aggressively attacked certain areas of the fire where Miami-Dade Fire Rescue firefighters particularly, were addressing those components of trying to minimize the impact. So yes, the air quality is a concern. We still have ventilation fans that we set up in specific areas, and we use them, to the best that we can. But there's a concern in regards to adding more air that you could increase whatever is smoldering, whatever this deep-seated area that's still burning could intensify as well. So that's, the logistics, the complications that we're dealing with at this time.
What kind of resources?
One second, guys. 1 second. We have a question for the governor.
Governor DeSantis, given the concerns about some of the structure of this building, would you feel safe going to sleep tonight if you were in the sister building of this just 100 yards away?
So I talked to the mayor of Surfside, and I think Daniela's talked to him as well. As you mentioned, there's a sister building basically right down the street. I know they are looking at, because it was built at the same time with the same designer, so they are looking at working with them, and I know they are considering potentially evacuating them. But that's something that ultimately the mayor's going to have to make the call on. I don't know that there's indications that there's any problems with that building, but just given the similarities, given the same age, they think that may be something. So I think he may have an announcement on that today.
Are you
Governor,
confident
will you
that someone will-
recommend that they evacuate that building?
I answered questions. So go
Are
ahead.
you confident that-
Last question here.
That's
One more question.
Are there any structural assessments of any other buildings in the area that are going on right now?
That's a question for the city.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Chief,
Thank you,
are
guys.
you still
Okay.
hearing
Go ahead.
sounds in the rubble?
When's the next
Are you
press
still hearing
conference?
sounds?
When's the next
We'll be announcing it soon.
Okay.
And
Chief,
now,
are you still
yeah,
hearing
now we're gonna
sounds in
have
the rubble?
Ivan Mauricio for Creole.
Chief, are you still
Can
hearing
you say
sounds
that
in the
on?
rubble?
Can you say that on the mic, please?
One part.
He said there's no sounds. He told me.
Chief,
This is it.
are you still?
The last question,
Are you still hearing sounds in the
as we're continuing, we still use our resources, our sonar equipment for sound, and no, we haven't heard sound for a while. And again, when we say sounds, it's not, distinct. It hasn't ever been distinct. It's just things that we hear, so we focus on that area as we're doing our search. And no, we haven't heard anything different in regards to the sounds
When would you
to
say
guide
is the
us a
last time
different
you
way.
did hear a
I
sound?
couldn't say that right now.
But you're
Hearing less of
Thank
it
you.
now.
And now for, again, Creole, Ivan Mauricio.
Merci tout le monde. Nous toujours à faire face à un pile de difficultés, surtout avec du fait qu'il y a continué à bouler en bas des bris. Nous avons continué à chercher avec toute force nous. Même les lignes fait noir, même les tout bagaille a continué à monter comme ça. Ça rend le travail là difficile pour secouristes nous yo. Nous avons utilisé toute qualité technologique qui est disponible avec de l'eau, avec Kim et surtout avec infrarouge pour nous capables de continuer à chercher victimes nous yo qui en bas des bris yo. Et nous pas suspendre. Pour victimes nous yo qui terrain en bas des bris yo tout. Nous connaissons que la difficile pour eux avec la fumée qui a monté et avec de l'eau. Mais nous pouvons joindre personne jusqu'à présent après nombre de monde que nous avons rencontré, que nous avons dit comme ça que nous avons déjà. En même temps, l'essentiel pour nous connaître pour qui ça, qui raison que bagage ça arrivé et puis tout pour nous pouvoir faire gros investigation.
I just put it on. Sorry, I'm.
Incident ça arrivé. Magistrat ressources naturelles, avec ressources économiques là, pour les capables une grosse disposition pour faire une étude pour connaître qui ça qui passé avec tout l'autre bâtiment ou bien tout l'autre qui gagne dans la zone là. Au plus, tout ça qui gagne 5 ans ou bien plus que 40 ans. En même temps, on a continué toujours pendant que le travail ça a fait, ma bail l'autre pour les capables faire immédiatement et puis pour le capable de durer au moins 30 jours. Et nous encourager toute l'autre ville pour